It was a quiet Monday morning in the small town of Crestwood. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden glow over the streets. The town was known for its tight-knit community, where everyone knew everyone, and life moved at a slower, more deliberate pace. But today, something was different. Today, the owner of one of the town's most beloved businesses, a cozy diner called the Morning Bell, was about to step into the shoes of his employees. His name was Daniel Harper, a man in his late 40s with a kind face and a heart full of curiosity. Daniel had built the Morning Bell from the ground up, turning it into a place where people came not just for the food, but for the warmth and connection it offered. But lately, something had been bothering him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was losing touch with the very people who made his dream possible, his employees. Daniel had always prided himself on being a hands-on boss. He knew the names of every employee, their families, and even their dreams. But as the business grew, so did the distance between him and the daily operations of the diner. He spent more time in meetings, crunching numbers, and worrying about profits than he did interacting with the people who kept the place running. And so, one evening, as he sat in his office, staring at the framed photo of the diner's opening day, he made a decision. He would go undercover. He would work a shift as a new employee and see for himself what life was really like for his staff. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the diner early, dressed in a simple uniform and a name tag that read Dan. He had told only one person about his plan, his most trusted manager, Clara. Clara was a woman in her early 30s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She had been with the Morning Bell since the beginning and knew the ins and outs of the business better than anyone. Daniel trusted her completely, and she had agreed to keep his secret. As Daniel stepped into the diner, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had worked in the kitchen years ago, but things had changed since then. The diner was busier now, with a steady stream of customers from opening till closing. He took a deep breath and walked over to Clara, who was standing by the counter, going over the day's schedule. "Morning, Clara," Daniel said, trying to sound casual. Clara looked up and gave him a small smile. "Morning, Dan. Ready for your first day?" Daniel nodded. "Ready as I'll ever be." Clara handed him an apron and pointed him toward the kitchen. "All right, let's get started. You'll be helping out with prep work first. Follow me." As Daniel followed Clara into the kitchen, he couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. The smells of sizzling bacon, fresh coffee, and warm pancakes filled the air, bringing back memories of the early days. But there was no time to reminisce. Clara introduced him to the rest of the kitchen staff, a young man named Tyler, who was flipping pancakes with practiced ease, and an older woman named Rosa, who was chopping vegetables with lightning speed. "This is Dan," Clara said. "He's new, so go easy on him." Tyler grinned. "Welcome to the team, Dan. Don't worry, we'll show you the ropes." Daniel smiled back, feeling a little more at ease. But as the morning went on, he quickly realized that working in the kitchen was no easy task. The orders came in fast, and there was no room for error. He struggled to keep up, his hands fumbling as he tried to plate dishes and keep track of the tickets. "Dan, we need those eggs sunny side up, not scrambled," Tyler called out, his voice tinged with frustration. Sorry, Daniel muttered, quickly starting over. Rosa glanced at him, her expression softening. "It's okay, Dan. First days are always tough. You'll get the hang of it." Daniel nodded, grateful for her encouragement. But as the hours passed, he began to notice things he had never seen before. The kitchen was hot and cramped, and the staff worked tirelessly, often without breaks. He saw the exhaustion in their eyes, the way their shoulders slumped as they pushed through the rush. And then there were the customers. Some were kind and patient, but others were demanding and rude, snapping at the staff over the smallest mistakes. By the time the lunch rush rolled around, Daniel was exhausted. His feet ached, his back was sore, and his hands were raw from scrubbing dishes. But what really weighed on him was a realization of how hard his employees worked, day in and day out, to keep the diner running. He had always known it wasn't easy, but seeing it firsthand was a different story. As the afternoon wore on, Daniel found himself alone in the kitchen, washing a mountain of dishes. Clara walked in, her arms full of dirty plates. She set them down on the counter and leaned against it, watching him for a moment. "How's it going, Dan?" she asked, her voice gentle. Daniel sighed, wiping the sweat from his brow. "It's harder than I thought. I don't know how you guys do it every day." Clara smiled faintly. "It's not easy, but we manage. We're a team, and we look out for each other." Daniel nodded, feeling a lump form in his throat. He wanted to say more, to tell her how much he appreciated everything she and the others did. But before he could, Clara's expression changed. She glanced over her shoulder, making sure no one was around, and then leaned in closer. "Can I tell you something, Dan?" she asked, her voice low. Daniel frowned, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "Of course. What is it?" Clara hesitated, her eyes darting to the door again. "It's about Mr. Harper, the owner." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. "What about him?" Clara sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I don't know if I should be saying this, but things haven't been the same around here lately. Mr. Harper used to be so involved, so present. He knew all of us, cared about us. But now, it's like he's forgotten about us. He's always in his office, focused on the business side of things. And I get it, running a business is hard. But it feels like he's lost touch with what really matters, the people who make this place what it is." Daniel felt a pang of guilt as he listened to her words. He had been so focused on growing the business, on making sure the diner was successful, that he had neglected the very people who made it all possible. Clara continued, her voice trembling slightly. "We're all struggling, Dan. The pay isn't great, the hours are long, and the work is hard. But we keep going because we love this place. We love the community, the customers, the sense of belonging. But sometimes it feels like Mr. Harper doesn't see that, like he doesn't see us." Daniel's eyes filled with tears as he listened to her. He wanted to tell her the truth, to reveal who he really was and apologize for everything. But he knew he couldn't. Not yet. "I'm sorry," he said softly, his voice choked with emotion. "I'm sure Mr. Harper cares about you all. He just doesn't realize how much you're going through." Clara nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek. "I hope you're right, Dan. I really do." As the day came to an end, Daniel felt a heavy weight in his chest. He had learned more in one shift than he had in years of running the business. He had seen the struggles, the sacrifices, and the unwavering dedication of his employees. And he knew he had to do something to make things right. The next morning, Daniel called a meeting with all of his staff. They gathered in the diner, their faces filled with curiosity and concern. Daniel stood before them, his heart pounding in his chest. "I have something to tell you all," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Yesterday, I worked a shift here as a new employee. I wanted to see for myself what life was like for all of you, and what I saw, it changed me." The room fell silent as Daniel continued. "I saw how hard you work, how much you give to this place. I saw the challenges you face every day, and I realized that I haven't been there for you the way I should have. I've been so focused on the business that I lost sight of what really matters, the people who make this place special." Tears filled his eyes as he looked around the room, meeting the gaze of each and every employee. I'm sorry for not seeing your struggles, for not appreciating everything you do. But I promise you, things are going to change. Starting today, we're going to work together to make this place better for all of us." The room erupted in applause, and Daniel felt a sense of relief wash over him. He knew there was still a long way to go, but he was ready to take the first step. As the days turned into weeks, Daniel made good on his promise. He implemented new policies to improve working conditions, increase wages, and made sure to spend more time with his employees. The diner became more than just a place to eat. It became a true community where everyone felt valued and appreciated. And as for Daniel, he learned a valuable lesson, one he would carry with him for the rest of his life. Success isn't just about profits and growth. It's about the people who make it all possible. It's about listening, caring, and never losing sight of what really matters. The Morning Bell continued to thrive, not just as a business, but as a family. And Daniel Harper, the man who had once been so focused on the bottom line, became a leader who truly understood the meaning of success. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Stories like these remind us of the power of kindness, courage, and standing up for what's right. If this story touched your heart, made you think, or inspired you in any way, let us know in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to share this story with others. Sometimes, a simple act of sharing can make a huge impact. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join our community. We've got more heartfelt stories coming your way. Until next time, remember, kindness changes lives. See you soon